Earth Reaction to Genocide. No More Playing Polite Part 1. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council sat high above the clouds of Xylos Prime, a world chosen for its neutrality and calm. Tall windows curved around the dome, showing stars that never blinked. Inside, delegates from over 30 species sat in tiered circles, their forms as varied as the worlds they came from. Some had too many eyes, others none at all. Some spoke through clicks, others through scent. But all understood the language of power. Among them sat Luke Carter. He was young for an Earth delegate, only 32, with tired eyes and a habit of listening more than speaking. His uniform was simple, navy blue with a small silver Earth pin on the collar. He didn't wear the heavy robes or glowing insignias that others flaunted. To most council members, he was just another human, polite, quiet, and easy to ignore. That changed on Cycle 217. A data crystal arrived unannounced, delivered by a dying courier from the Outer Rim. It contained raw footage, no edits, no commentary, just hours of unfiltered horror. The Kavor hegemony, a militaristic empire known for its rigid order and iron discipline, had been wiping out the Xanthari, not in war, not in battle, but in cold methodical slaughter. Entire villages erased. Children separated from parents and led into gas chambers disguised as medical centers. Elders buried alive in mass pits while drones recorded their final cries for archival efficiency. The footage played on the central holo display. Silence filled the chamber, not the respectful silence of mourning, but the heavy, guilty silence of those who already knew and chose to look away. After the playback ended, the high speaker of the Vrel, a tall, four-armed being with skin like polished obsidian, cleared his throat. "This is deeply troubling," he said, voice smooth as oil. "However, the Kivor maintain this is an internal matter. Their sovereignty must be respected." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Thalen delegate nodded slowly. The Myrex ambassador adjusted her veil and said nothing. Luke stood. He hadn't planned to. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice did not. "Internal matter?" he asked, quiet but clear. "They're killing a whole species. Not soldiers. Not rebels, families, children. That's not internal. That's evil." A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. Most avoided his gaze. The Vrel speaker sighed. "Young human, you misunderstand galactic law. Intervention without consensus invites chaos. We have protocols. Protocols that let murderers burn worlds while we take notes?" Luke's voice rose just a little. "Earth has seen this before. On our own planet, we called it genocide, and we swore never to let it happen again. Your history is your own," said the Myrex envoy coolly. "Do not burden the galaxy with your guilt." Luke sat down. His face burned, but not from shame, from anger held tightly in check. He knew Earth had no real power here. Humanity had only joined the Council 10 years ago, after proving its jump drive technology and agreeing to strict trade limits. They were guests, not equals, and guests did not shout. Back in his quarters, Luke watched the footage again. Alone this time, he saw a Xanthari mother clutching her child, whispering a lullaby as armored Kavor soldiers dragged them toward a sealed door. The camera cut before the door closed, but the sound of the child's whimper lingered. He sent a priority message to United Earth Command, not official, not encrypted, just a raw personal plea. They're being erased, and no one cares. On Earth, the message landed in the inbox of President Dana Ellis. She read it late at night after a long day of budget meetings and climate reports. She was 58. With short gray hair and a voice that could calm riots or command fleets. She had served in the Mars Dust campaigns and lost 2 brothers to the Titan riots. She knew what silence cost. She didn't reply right away. Instead, she called a secure line to Admiral Carlos Mendez, head of orbital defense. "Carlos," she said, "how fast can we move a carrier group to the Outer Rim?" "Madam President," he replied, surprised, "we're not cleared for deep space ops without Council approval. Just tell me the number." 72 hours. If we bypass safety checks." She nodded to herself. Then she opened Luke's message again and read it a second time. Meanwhile, news of the Xanthari genocide leaked to Earth's public networks. Not the full footage, too graphic, but enough. Headlines flashed across every screen. Galaxy watches as species vanishes. Council debates while Xanthari die. Human delegate speaks out, ignored. People gathered in cities. Not in rage, but in sorrow. Candles lit in New York, Tokyo, Nairobi, Buenos Aires. Students held vigils outside United Nations offices. A retired engineer in Houston started a petition. Earth must act. It gathered 10 million signatures in 3 days. Governments urged calm. "We must follow procedure," said the EU spokesperson. "Rushing in could make things worse," warned the Pacific Alliance. But in homes and workshops and shipyards, something else stirred. Mechanics in lunar orbit began inspecting old freighters. Programmers in Cape Town wrote code to boost signal range for deep space comms. Medics in Jakarta packed field kits labeled Zenthari Relief. No orders had been given. No official plan existed. Yet people moved as if pulled by a shared instinct. Luke returned to the council chamber the next cycle. This time he brought a small data pad. He didn't speak. He just placed it on the central table and activated it. A single image appeared. A photo of Earth, blue-green fragile. Beneath it, words in plain English we learned the hard way. "Will you?" No one took the pad. No one argued. But for the first time, several delegates looked at him, not past him. That night, President Ellis addressed the world. Not with a speech full of jargon, but with simple words. We were told to be patient, to be polite, to wait our turn. But when innocent lives are being stolen, waiting is complicity. Earth will not stand silent. She didn't declare war. She didn't name enemies, but everyone understood. And in the quiet halls of the Galactic Council, Luke Carter finally stopped feeling alone. The galaxy had spent centuries teaching humanity to speak softly. Now, Earth was learning when to stop whispering. Earth reaction to genocide. No more playing polite Part 2 after the council session. Luke Carter returned to Earth. Not as a junior delegate, but as a man carrying the weight of what he had seen. His shuttle landed at Geneva Spaceport under gray skies. No fanfare greeted him, just a quiet car and a single aide. But as he stepped onto the tarmac, he saw something unexpected. People stood along the fence line. Not crowds, but clusters of citizens, teachers, dock workers, students holding signs that read, "We see them and silence is betrayal." No chants, no noise. Just presence. President Dana Ellis met him in a secure briefing room beneath the United Earth headquarters. The walls were plain, the table scarred from years of use. She poured him coffee. Real coffee, not the synthetic kind served on Xylos Prime. "You spoke," she said simply. "And no one listened," Luke replied. "They listened," she corrected. "They just didn't like what they heard." She slid a tablet toward him. It showed live feeds from orbital shipyards near Mars. Massive cranes moved along skeletal frames of vessels, some old, some new. "We're reactivating the Aegis," she said. She's been in dry dock since the Sirius incident. "We're also converting cargo haulers into medevac ships. Engineers are installing shield modulators from decommissioned defense platforms. The council will call it militarization," Luke warned. "Let them," Dana said. "We're not building an invasion fleet. We're building a rescue force." There's a difference. Across the planet, that difference was already taking shape. In Houston, retired pilot Maria Lopez, once grounded after a reactor leak on the Odyssey, re-enlisted without being asked. In Vancouver, robotics teams worked around the clock to adapt mining drones for search and rescue in hostile zones. In Nairobi, doctors volunteered for off-world trauma training, knowing they might never come home. No central order had commanded this. It spread like a current, quiet but unstoppable. People didn't wait for permission. They remembered their own history, wars, famines, genocides, and knew that help rarely came from waiting. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council issued a formal statement. It condemned acts of violence and urged all parties to seek peaceful resolution. It mentioned the Zenthari only once, in paragraph 7, as affected non-combatants. The Cavor hegemony responded with a press release of their own. Internal security operations remain lawful and necessary. Earth's news networks played both statements back to back. Viewers didn't need commentary to see the lie. In classrooms, teachers paused lessons to answer hard questions. "Why won't anyone stop them?" asked a 10-year-old in Manila. Her teacher, a former peacekeeper, said only, "Sometimes good people have to act before the rules catch up." Back in Geneva, Dana Ellis convened the United Earth Defense Council. The room was full, generals, scientists, diplomats, but the mood was tense. Some argued for caution. "We're barely recognized as a Tier 3 species," said one advisor. "If we move without council approval, we risk sanctions, maybe even blockade. And if we do nothing," Dana replied, "we risk our soul." She turned to Admiral Carlos Mendez, who stood near the window, arms crossed. Carlos, can we reach the Zentari refugee camps before the Cavor do? He didn't hesitate. Yes. But not with weapons blazing. We go in quiet, fast, humanitarian cover, med bays full, cargo holds packed with supplies, comms open to broadcast everything we see. Good, she said. Then we don't ask for permission. We ask for forgiveness later. Luke sat through the meeting silent. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't know ship specs or jump calculations, but he knew one thing. The galaxy saw humans as soft, as naive, as the species that smiled too much and fought too little. That image had kept them safe, but now safety meant complicity. That night he walked through Geneva's old town. Rain fell softly. He passed a small square where a group of teenagers had set up a projector. On a stone wall they played looping footage. Not of the genocide, but of Zentari culture, music, dance, children laughing in fields of silver grass. A caption scrolled beneath. They were real. A woman approached him. She wore a simple coat, her hair streaked with gray. "You're the one from the council," she said. Luke nodded. "My grandfather survived a camp on Earth," she said. He never spoke of it. But he taught us one thing: when you see evil, you don't debate it. You stop it. She handed him a folded paper. Inside was a list of names, engineers, pilots, medics, who had volunteered to go. "We're ready," she said. Then she walked away. The next morning, Earth's Orbital Command sent a coded update. Fleet assembly at 87% complete. The Aegis would be spaceworthy in 10 days. Civilian freighters from the asteroid belt had already begun rerouting under false manifests. On Xylos Prime, the Council debated again. This time a small faction, led by a Thalen delegate who had lost family in an old purge, spoke in favor of action. But the majority still held back. Rushing in could destabilize the sector, argued the virile speaker. Luke watched the feed from his apartment. He felt no anger now, only resolve. Back on Earth, factories hummed through the night. In orbit, welders sealed hull plates under artificial suns. In homes, families said quiet goodbyes, not knowing if they'd see their loved ones again. Dana Ellis recorded a message, not for the Council. Not for the Cavor, for the people of Earth. "We were told to be polite," she said, looking straight into the camera. "To wait our turn. To trust the system. But systems fail, and when they do, ordinary people must do extraordinary things. We are not going to war. We are going to witness. To protect. To say not here. Not while we breathe." The message aired globally. Within hours, donation centers overflowed with medical supplies, food packs, and spare parts. A fisherman in Norway sent his boat's emergency beacon, saying it might help locate survivors in debris fields. A programmer in Santiago wrote an open-source encryption tool so rescue teams could share data safely. Humanity wasn't waiting for a hero. It was becoming one. And in the silent corridors of power across the galaxy, something shifted. Rumors spread. Whispers of Earth's movements reached even the Cavor High Command. For the first time, they hesitated, because they realized something the Council had forgotten. Politeness has a limit, and Earth had just reached it. Earth reaction to genocide. No more playing polite Part 3. The jump point near the Cavor border flared with blue light as the first human ships emerged from fold space. Not with fanfare, not with weapons charged, but with medbay doors open and rescue beacons pulsing. The task force was small, just 7 vessels, but everyone carried a purpose. The carrier Aegis led the group, its hull still bearing repair scars from past battles. Behind it came converted freighters like the Dawn Runner and Steady Hand, their cargo holds packed with food, water, and field hospitals. 2 old destroyers, the Vermont and Oregon, flanked the formation, shields up but guns cold. Admiral Carlos Mendez stood on the bridge of the Aegis, arms behind his back, eyes fixed on the main display. He didn't look like a warrior. He looked like a man who had seen too much and refused to see more without acting. "Status?" he asked. "All ships report green," replied Lieutenant Jen Morales, young but steady. "Comms are live. Broadcast array active." "Good," Carlos said. "Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to show." Their target was a cluster of Zentari refugee outposts on the edge of Cavor space, places the Council had labeled unprotected zones. Intel from smugglers and deserters said the Cavor planned a sweep in 3 days. Earth didn't have 3 days. They had now. As the fleet approached the first outpost, a rocky moon called Ilaris, scanners picked up Cavor patrol ships, 4 of them, sleek and armed, circling like vultures. They've seen us, Jen said. Let them, Carlos replied. Open all channels. Stream everything. At that moment, across the galaxy, millions of screens lit up. In marketplaces on Xylos Prime, in homes on Thalos, in barracks on Myrex colony worlds, people saw what Earth was doing, not through filtered news reports but raw feed. Human ships moving calmly toward danger, rescue shuttles launching, medics suiting up. And then the Cavor opening fire, but the humans didn't return fire. Instead, the Vermont angled its hull to take the blast on its reinforced side, then fired a single non-lethal pulse, a grav net designed to tangle engines, not destroy them. One Cavor ship spun out, disabled. The others hesitated. On the surface of Alaris, Centauri survivors, thin, scared, clutching children, watched as human shuttles landed without ceremony. No speeches, no cameras in their faces, just open doors and outstretched hands. Dr. Nina Patel, wearing a simple blue jumpsuit with a red cross on the sleeve, knelt beside an elderly Centauri woman. She didn't speak their language, but she offered water, then pointed to the shuttle. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. Back on the Aegis, Carlos watched the rescue unfold on screen. Jen patched the disabled Cavor ship's internal comms through our broadcast. You're sure? They recorded everything they did to the Centauri. Let the galaxy hear it from their own logs. Within minutes, the feed changed. Now viewers heard Cavor officers giving orders. Clear Sector Alpha. No witnesses. Dispose of juveniles first, they slow transport. Log body count for efficiency review. The galaxy went quiet. On Xylos Prime, the council chamber erupted. Some delegates demanded Earth stand down. Others demanded the Cavor be held accountable. For the first time, the Vrel speaker had no smooth words. He simply sat, staring at the floor. Meanwhile, Earth's fleet moved to the next outpost, then the next. At each stop, they rescued who they could, disabled who they had to, and broadcast everything. They didn't hide. They didn't sneak. They acted in full view, as if daring the galaxy to look away. A Cavor commander finally hailed the Aegis. His voice was sharp, laced with fury. You violate sovereign space. Withdraw or be destroyed, Carlos answered himself. We see your people suffering too. Your soldiers following orders they hate. Your scientists forced to design death chambers. We're not your enemy, but we won't let you kill the innocent and call it law. The line went dead. But something had changed. 2 Cavor patrol ships broke formation and powered down. Their crews surrendered, not to Earth, but to their own conscience. On Earth, people watched the live feed in silence. In schools, students paused lessons to see real courage. In hospitals, nurses worked extra shifts, knowing their supplies might soon save alien lives. In shipyards, welders worked faster, fueled by pride, not pay. President Dana Ellis did not give a victory speech. She simply said, "We go where help is needed." That's all. But the message spread. A Myrex freighter, long silent, began transmitting support signals to Earth's fleet. A Thalan scout ship shared hidden jump routes. Even a small Vrel merchant vessel sent encrypted coordinates of a hidden Xanthari camp. Humanity had not asked for allies. It had inspired them. By the end of the cycle, Earth's fleet had rescued over 2,000 Xanthari. They were safe aboard human ships, wrapped in thermal blankets, fed with nutrient paste, treated with care that asked for nothing in return. Luke Carter watched from the medical bay of the Aegis. He held a data pad showing messages from home. Children drawing pictures of Xanthari families. Engineers offering new filter designs for alien lungs. Musicians composing lullabies in Xanthari tones. He looked at a small Xanthari boy sleeping on a cot, hand-clutching a toy made from scrap wire by a human engineer. This was not war. This was witness, and the galaxy was finally watching. Earth reaction to genocide. No more playing polite. Part 4. The Cavor hegemony did not respond with words. They responded with ships. A full blockade formed around human trade lanes near the Sirius corridor, cutting off supply routes to Mars and the asteroid belt. Cavor warships hovered at jump points, scanning every vessel, demanding inspections, turning back freighters carrying food, medicine, even air filters. Their message was clear. Earth's defiance would be punished with hunger, not fire. But Earth was ready. Instead of sending warships to break the blockade, they sent people. Civilian ships, old cargo haulers, mining tugs, even private yachts began gathering near the lunar docks. Their captains weren't soldiers. They were dock workers, teachers, retired pilots, farmers who once flew crop dusters on Titan. They painted no flags, carried no weapons, but flew in tight formation, hulls linked by emergency tethers. They called themselves the Chain. When the first Cavor patrol ordered them to halt, the lead ship, a battered freighter named Good Neighbor, responded with a simple broadcast. "We carry food for children. Scan us, shoot us if you must, but know the galaxy will see." The Cavor hesitated. Shooting unarmed civilians would confirm everything Earth had shown. After a tense hour, they let the convoy pass. But not before logging every name, every registry number. Back on Earth, President Dana Ellis stood before the United Earth Assembly. She wore no uniform, just a plain gray suit. "They think blockade will break us," she said. "But humans don't starve quietly. We share, we build, we protect each other, and now others too." Her words spread. More ships joined the chain. A fisherman from Alaska retrofitted his ice hauler with extra oxygen tanks. A student group in Cairo pooled savings to buy fuel cells for a scout ship. Even neutral colonies, long wary of Earth, began quietly rerouting supplies through back channels. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis, the rescued Zenthari began to heal. Doctors learned their language through shared gestures and translation pads. Children drew pictures of home: silver trees, twin suns, rivers that glowed at night. One elderly Zenthari elder named Kale asked to speak with Luke Carter. Through a translator, Kale said, "Your people did not wait for permission to save us. That is rare in this galaxy. Most wait for rules to catch up to right." Luke nodded. "We learned that waiting costs lives." Kyle placed a small carved stone in Luke's hand, a Zenthari symbol for witness. "Carry this," he said, "so others know someone saw." That stone would later sit on the desk of every human ambassador. On Xylos Prime, the Galactic Council met again. This time the mood had shifted. The Thaylen delegation presented evidence of Cavor death camps, verified by their own intelligence, not just human claims. The Myrex envoy, once cold, now spoke of moral failure. Even the Vrel speaker admitted quietly that non-interference cannot mean blindness. But words were not enough. Earth knew that, so they kept acting. Admiral Carlos Mendez ordered the fleet to shift tactics. Instead of chasing Cavor patrols, they began escorting Zenthari survivors to neutral worlds willing to take them in. Each drop-off was broadcast live. Each handshake between a human pilot and a refugee became a symbol. Then came the turning point. A Cavor science vessel, the Truth Seeker, defected. Its crew, mostly researchers forced to design bioweapons, sent a distress call to the Aegis. They carried hard drives full of internal orders, execution logs, even genetic data from Zenthari test subjects. Carlos welcomed them without question. No interrogation, no suspicion, just medics, food, and a promise. "You're safe now." Within hours, the data was shared with every major news network in the galaxy. The Cavor High Command tried to deny it, but the files were too detailed, too real. One file showed a general ordering the sterilization of Zenthari women to prevent future resistance. Another listed quotas for body disposal. Public outrage exploded. Protests erupted on Vrel homeworlds. Thaylen youth burned Cavor trade banners. Myrex merchants canceled contracts. For the first time, the hegemony faced pressure from within. Back on Earth, Dana Ellis received a message, not from a government, but from a Cavor officer. It was short. "Not all of us agree. Some of us watch. And wait," she didn't reply. But she saved the message. As weeks passed, the blockade weakened. Cavor ships grew fewer, their patrols less strict. Rumors spread of unrest in their core systems. Soldiers refusing orders, workers sabotaging supply lines. The image of Earth's unarmed convoys moving calmly through danger had done what weapons could not. It had shamed the silence of others into action. Luke returned to Xylos Prime, not as a junior delegate, but as a voice the council could no longer ignore. When he entered the chamber, several delegates stood. Not all, but enough he didn't give a speech. He simply placed Kale's stone on the central table. Then he played one final clip. A Zenthari child safe aboard the Aegis, singing a lullaby into a recorder. The song was soft, strange, full of hope. After it ended, the Thaylen speaker said what no one had dared say before. "This is not Earth's burden alone. It is ours." The council voted that day, not for war, but for a new resolution. Immediate humanitarian access to all Zenthari zones, independent monitors, and sanctions on Cavor leadership. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And for the first time, humanity sat not at the edge of the room, but at the center. Not because they demanded it, but because they earned it by doing what was right, even when no one else would. Earth reaction to genocide. No more playing polite. Part 5. The Cavor hegemony did not fall in a single battle. It unraveled slowly like a rope pulled too tight for too long. After the Council's new resolution, more of its own people began to speak. Soldiers laid down their weapons. Scientists destroyed their research. Governors in outer provinces declared neutrality. The center could no longer hold. Within 6 months, the hegemony split into 3 rival factions, each blaming the others for the shame that now clung to their name across the stars. Earth did not celebrate. They kept working. The Aegis and its fleet shifted from rescue to rebuilding. They helped Xanthari survivors return to their homeworlds, now scarred but free. Human engineers worked alongside Xanthari builders to restore water purifiers, power grids, and schools. Doctors stayed behind to treat trauma, not just of the body, but of the mind. No one asked for payment. No one signed contracts. They simply helped because it was right. Back on Earth, life changed in quiet ways. Children learned Xanthari songs in music class. Universities added courses on galactic ethics. Shipyards no longer built only for trade or defense. They designed vessels with wide medbays and open cargo holds, ready for the next time help was needed. The phrase "no more playing polite" appeared on murals, in textbooks, even on the side of a bakery van in Portland. It was not a threat. It was a promise. Luke Carter remained on Xylos Prime now as Earth's senior ambassador. He no longer sat in the back rows. His voice carried weight, not because he shouted, but because others knew he would act when words failed. When the Council began drafting a new galactic charter, Luke insisted on one rule above all. If a species faces mass killing, the Council must act, fast, together, without waiting for endless votes. Some delegates resisted. "It gives too much power," said a Vrel elder. "It gives responsibility," Luke replied. "And we've all failed that before." In the end, the clause passed. It was called the Xanthari Principle. President Dana Ellis stepped down after her term ended. She did not seek glory or monuments. She returned to her home in Vermont, where she tended a small garden and taught history at the local school. When students asked what she was most proud of, she said, "That we chose to see." Admiral Carlos Mendez retired from active command but stayed on as an advisor. He spent his time training young pilots not just in flying but in judgment. "Anyone can press a button," he told them. "It takes courage to choose not to." Meanwhile, the Xanthari rebuilt. Their cities rose again, not as they were, but as they wished to be. Open, green, filled with light. They planted trees from earth seeds alongside their silver groves. They named a new school after the Aegis. And every year, on the day the first human shuttles landed, they held a quiet ceremony, not of mourning, but of thanks. The galaxy changed too. Other species, long silent in the face of cruelty, began to speak up. When a mining corporation tried to enslave a small moon-dwelling species, it was a Myrex freighter that broadcast the truth. When a warlord threatened a peaceful colony, it was a Thalan fleet that stood in the way. Inspired, they said, by what Earth had done, humanity was no longer seen as naive. They were seen as steady, as the species that remembered its own dark past and refused to let others suffer the same. One evening, Luke stood on a balcony of the council spire, looking out at the stars. Beside him stood Kale, the Xanthari elder, now strong again. "You changed everything," Kale said softly. "We just stopped looking away," Luke answered. Below them, the city of Xylos Prime hummed with life, aliens of all kinds walking together, trading, talking, learning. It was not perfect. Peace never is, but it was better than before. On Earth, a young girl in Manila asked her teacher why humans went to help the Xanthari. "Because it was the right thing to do," the teacher said. "Even if it was hard, especially because it was hard." That night, the girl drew a picture, a human hand and a Xanthari hand, holding a small green plant. She titled it, "No More Playing Polite." Years later, that drawing hung in the main hall of the new Galactic Peace Institute, founded by Earth, the Xanthari, and 12 other species. Its mission was simple: to teach, to watch, and to act before it was too late. The stars did not suddenly become kind. Evil still existed, but now when darkness rose, someone would shine a light, and often, That light came from Earth, not because they were the strongest, but because they remembered what silence cost and chose every day to speak.